Revealed, the incredible moment when a CEO changed everything for the girl shunned for her size, in the small town of Maplewood, where traditions ran deep and hugs were as common as the scent of fresh pie at Emma's mom's diner, a storm brewed quietly. It was the kind of storm that filled hallways with whispered remarks and eyes filled with judgment. 16-year-old Emma drifted through the crowd like a ghost, the laughter of her classmates a distant echo. As a girl who struggled with body image and bullying, she was no stranger to the sting of cruel comments, her heart heavy each time people whispered too big as she passed. But inside the diner, walls adorned with pictures of smiling neighbors and laughter echoed from every booth, Emma found solace. Her mother had poured love into that place, serving up comfort food with a side of warm-hearted stories. Emma would often escape into this world, flipping pancakes in the morning light and soaking up the community spirit that thrived in every shared meal. Here, beneath the shimmering lights and the retirement chatter of local patrons, she believed she could weave her dreams of fashion and design far away from the judgments of high school. Then came the day everyone in town marked on their calendars the arrival of a high-profile CEO. He was in town to discuss rebuilding projects, and the town buzzed with excitement. The unfolding event brought an intriguing stir, igniting Emma's hopes momentarily. Perhaps just perhaps someone might see her. Yet, as he strolled in, surrounded by the polished elite of town, Emma felt the familiar cold rush of fear grip her. As she served customers, her heart warmed when she noticed the CEO, Thomas Bradshaw, looking over at her. He was captivated by a little act of kindness. Emma helped an elderly woman struggling to carry her tray. That fleeting moment, where compassion shimmered brighter than any label, was the CEO's awakening. All reached out to him was her genuine smile. But as he unveiled a mentorship program aimed at boosting local youth, despondence washed over Emma as she stood on the sidelines, unseen. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she stood there, a torrent of self-doubt crashed over her. Why was she overlooked? This moment felt like another harsh reminder of her battle against pain and prejudice. But unbeknownst to her, Thomas began to reflect on his own misconceptions. Seeing Emma's spark ignited something within him, a realization that talent held no strings to appearance, and that potential was being overlooked by his own limited vision. Hours later, whispers began to swell among townsfolk. They rallied, neighbors reminisced about Emma's resilience and kindness, surrounding her in a tide of support. It was a storm of encouragement unlike anything she had known. Emma felt buoyed by their belief in her, hope surged through her. Yet, as she looked toward the horizon of possibility, an unanswered question lingered: could she truly embrace who she was in a world that often shunned her? And would Thomas dare make the necessary change to redefine beauty and merit? As the chapter closed, all eyes remained on Emma, where hope hung heavy in the air, waiting for the next twist that could change everything. The next morning, the sun peeked through the clouds, casting a golden glow over Maplewood. Emma awoke with determination pulsing through her veins. Today was different. She had felt the swell of community behind her, the whispers of encouragement that transformed her insecurity into something almost tangible. Her heart ached for change, for recognition, and she knew that she needed to find a way to step into the light. After a quick breakfast serving up pancakes with a sense of purpose, Emma's mind raced with ideas. She tucked her bangs behind her ear as she glanced at her sketches of clothing designs. Bright colors danced along the pages, patterns blossoming with boldness, whispering of dreams yet unfulfilled. If she could catch the eye of Thomas, maybe he would see greater potential, too, not just in the realm of mentorship but in the world of creativity. As Emma walked to school, the weight of judgment still loomed, but the recent support from the diner gave her strength. She pictured the faces of the patrons who had cheered her on, their voices echoing in her mind. "You've got this, Emma," they had said. The more she thought about it, the more she realized this was not just her fight. It was about standing up for others who felt overlooked. At the high school, however, the halls felt heavy once again. Laughter ricocheted off the lockers, but Emma barely registered the words, drowned in her own thoughts. Trying to shake off the doubt, she spotted her best friend, Lucy, waiting at their usual meet-up spot by the art room. "Hey, you okay?" Lucy asked, her eyes scanning Emma's face. "I think I want to talk to Thomas," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper as if voicing her fear would make it real. Lucy raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "Are you serious? You know he's not just some average guy. He's a CEO. "I know, but what if he could help? What if I could finally be seen?" The passion that had built in Emma exploded like a balloon filled with too much air, but she felt lighter, too. "All right, let us do it together," Lucy encouraged, her smile brightening the gloom that threatened to seep back in. "We can brainstorm what you'd say. You're amazing, Em, and I know you have so much to show the world." Fueled by a mix of excitement and anxiety, they spent the entire lunch period sketching ideas not just for Emma's designs but also a passionate speech about body positivity and self-acceptance. With every word and every sketch, Emma's heart swelled, pushing aside the shadows of self-doubt. She was going to be the girl who dared to be seen. Finally, the bell rang, and Emma gathered her things with a wild mix of hope and fear bubbling inside her. Would Thomas actually listen? Would he step outside the confines of the expectations people placed upon him? There were so many unanswered questions, and an urge sparked within her to make her desires known. As she approached the diner later that evening, Emma could see Thomas standing just outside, deep in conversation with her mother. Her breath hitched. This was the moment. But right as she took a step forward, a chill coursed through her. What if he laughed? What if he thought she was being foolish? A tidal wave of uncertainty crashed over her. Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself. After all, what was worse, being overlooked again or stepping into her truth? As she opened the door, a gust of hope blew through her. She knew she was ready to brave the storm, become truly visible, and redefine what being seen meant. Emma paused at the threshold, ready to take the leap, when suddenly, a sharp voice cut through the conversation. "Why would you even care about her, Thomas?" She asked, just a diner girl. The words hung in the air like a weight, and all eyes turned her way. Emma could feel the heat rush to her face, the familiar sting of judgment pressing against her heart. But deep down, a fire ignited. They were all about to discover just how much she cared. What would Thomas say? Would he defend her in front of the crowd? The moment hung tight, and now she faced her challenge head-on, unsure of what the answer would bring. Thomas's gaze shifted from her mother to Emma, and the world around them blurred into a muted backdrop. Time felt suspended, and the weight of expectation settled on his shoulders. His expression hardened for a brief moment, and Emma held her breath, desperation threading through her veins. "What do you mean, just a diner girl?" he asked, his voice steady, yet edged with surprise. The crowd of older kids that had gathered murmur and shift uneasily. Emma could hardly believe it. Did Thomas just defend her? A flicker of determination sparked inside her. She's not just anything. Emma works hard, and she has dreams that are just as valid as anyone else's, he added, moving closer to her with an impressive confidence. Emma's heart swelled. Maybe she really did matter to him. The voice that had questioned her, Brad, a self-appointed king of their junior class, scoffed. "Come on, Thomas. She's just another girl throwing herself at you. You could mentor someone who actually has potential." Laughter erupted, and Emma felt like the ground beneath her was crumbling. But she refused to shrink back. She took a small step forward, fighting through the embarrassment. "I may be just a girl from the diner, but I have plans. I have dreams," she declared, her voice surprisingly strong. "There's more to me than this apron, and more to everyone who feels like they don't belong. Just because I'm not dressed in the latest fashion doesn't mean I can't design something beautiful." The words poured out, raw and honest, fueled by the heartache that had chased her for too long. Around her, the chatter slowed, a few stunned faces turning to listen. Brad's smirk faltered. "What are you talking about?" he asked, disbelief twisting his features. I'm saying that we all deserve to be seen and to pursue our passions, she continued, emboldened by the support of Thomas and the crowd's change in demeanor. You don't have to be a CEO or rich to have dreams and to be taken seriously. I want to show that creativity can come from anywhere, from the diner, from the backyard, or from the heart. The room fell silent. Thomas stepped beside her, nodding affirmatively. Emma's passion isn't limited by her surroundings. I've seen her work firsthand, her designs, her ideas. The value of a person isn't measured by their status but by what they dare to bring into the world. A crackle of tension hung in the air, shifting like the changing tide. Emma felt the heat in her cheeks, but it was different this time. Painful memories of being dismissed started to fade, replaced by a sense of community. What do you say, Maplewood? Thomas asked, his voice booming with sincerity. Let us support each other instead of tearing each other down. We have the power to uplift those who are passionate. A wave of hesitant claps resounded, quickly growing louder. The laughter from before was replaced by a chorus of cheers, echoing against the diner walls. Emma's pulse raced, the hard line of apprehension softening as courage warmed her soul. Feeling buoyed by the applause, Emma looked at Thomas. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, she understood that their journey was just beginning. But even as the swell of support washed over her, Emma knew there were still challenges ahead. It wasn't just about this moment, this breakthrough. She could feel the eyes of doubters lingering in the background. What if tomorrow, amidst all the warmth, the whispers of judgment came creeping back? As she stepped back, a small smile crept across her lips, knowing that she had spoken her truth. But not everything had been resolved. What would happen next? Would she find allies in unexpected places? A new adventure awaited, and Emma was determined to explore it. The crowd buzzed with excitement, all eyes on her. Would she take this moment of newfound power and build on it? The thought circled like a whirlwind, leaving a lingering anticipation in the air. As the echoes of applause settled around her like a warm blanket, Emma's heart raced with both excitement and fear. She had poured her soul out to the crowd, and now, she stood there like a lighthouse amidst a storm, guiding others with her light. But the storm wasn't over yet. Emma. A voice broke through the cheers, slicing through the moment. It was Brad, still lingering at the back of the room, determination etched across his face. This isn't over. You think a couple of claps will change anything? Emma felt a chill skitter down her spine. The energy from earlier began to flicker, dimmed by Brad's disdainful tone. She could sense the tension knotting in the air again, and the crowd's excitement was tempered by the clouds forming just above. Look at this place, Brad said, gesturing around him, his words sharp like glass. This isn't a runway. You want to design? This is where dreams go to die. You really think you can rise above it all just because you said some words? Emma wanted to crumble, she wanted to retreat into a corner and hide. But then there was Thomas beside her, unwavering. No, Brad. Emma is not defined by your views. If you truly think this place can't support dreams, you're the one who needs to change your mindset. With newfound courage, Emma turned to Thomas. I know I have a long way to go. But every great design starts with a single thread, right? And I'm just getting started. The words flowed with more confidence than she expected. It wasn't just about proving herself anymore, it was about acknowledging her journey and her strength. The air crackled with electricity, a buzzing resistance against Brad's negativity. Emma scanned the crowd, searching for familiar faces. She spotted Lila, a girl in her art class, nodding in agreement. Other classmates showed signs of support, some whispered to one another, chuckling at Brad's stale critique, but Brad wasn't done. He stepped closer, frustration bubbling to the surface. You may have them clapping for you now, but they won't stand behind a nobody in a few weeks. You're just a blip on the radar. Emma's breath stuttered. What if he was right? What if tomorrow, they all shrugged her off like yesterday's news? But then she felt Thomas's strong presence beside her. His shoulder brushed against hers, a silent promise of solidarity. Maybe it won't happen overnight, she shot back, her voice firm. But every day I'll fight to weave my dreams into something real. And I know I'm not alone. She turned back to the crowd, her resolve blooming. We all have battles to fight, I won't sink in doubt. Amid the heartbeat of silence punctuated by scattered murmurs, she could almost see the walls of misunderstanding cracking. It felt good. It felt right. She was ready to turn the page and draw her own map. Then a familiar face stepped forward. It was Ms. Albond, the high school art teacher. Her smile was steady and reassuring. Emma, I believe in what you're doing. And I want to help you. Hope flickered in Emma's chest. You do? Of course. We have an art showcase coming up, and I would love for you to present your designs. Excitement surged through Emma. This could be a turning point. Don't let Brad or anyone else discourage you, Ms. Albund continued. Believe in yourself. The crowd seemed to hold its breath, feeling the shift in energy. Emma's voice trembled slightly but resonated with strength. Thank you, Ms. Albund. I won't give up. But how do I transform this moment into something more? As she stood there, surrounded by people who were slowly becoming allies, Emma knew this was her moment. But deep within, uncertainty lingered. Could she really navigate the path ahead, filled with both opportunity and judgment? Would fear turn into fuel for her creativity, or would she find herself stunted by it all? The questions loomed tantalizingly on the edge of her consciousness, leaving a spark of possibility in the air. Tomorrow would tell its own tale, but for today, she was ready to embrace all that was unfolding. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Emma woke up with a mix of excitement and nerves swirling inside her. The announcement of the art showcase lingered in her thoughts like an unfinished symphony. She rolled out of bed, the weight of the day ahead pressing upon her. Would she be able to capture the support she felt last night? After a quick breakfast, Emma grabbed her sketchbook and headed out to the park nearby. Sunny rays danced through the leaves, illuminating her surroundings. Sitting on a bench, she opened the book and stared at the blank pages in front of her. She took a deep breath, her heart steadying. Dive in, she whispered to herself. The brush of her pencil against paper was like a release, a floodgate opening. Ideas came rushing forth, vibrant sketches spilling onto the page as each stroke anchored her thoughts. The fear from the day before felt like a distant echo, and for the first time, she could see her designs taking flight. This was her strength of visual narrative wrapping around her heart. But as she sketched, another thought crept in. What if she didn't do enough? What if the showcase fell flat? Suddenly, a shadow blurred across her page, and she looked up, startled. A tall figure stood before her, an imposing man in a crisp suit, his eyes hidden behind dark shades. He tapped his foot and glanced down at her artwork. Nice sketches, he commented, his tone neutral. Emma blinked, the surprise leaving her momentarily speechless. Thank you. He lowered his glasses, revealing keen eyes that pierced through her uncertainty. I'm Jake Stanton, CEO of Stanton Designs. I'm scouting new talent for our upcoming project. Your work has potential, but he paused, watching her intently. You need to own your voice. Confidence is key in this industry. Stunned, Emma felt a rush of heat on her cheeks. Her pulse raced. This was a career-defining moment, but the thought of Brad's words nagged at her. But I'm just a student, she managed, her voice trembling slightly. Exactly, Jake said, nodding slightly as if her admission had fueled his point. You are learning. But trust me, the world doesn't care about your size or how long you've been at it. It cares about creativity, passion, and authenticity. Emma's heart pounded as she processed his words. A CEO addressing her. Did he really just acknowledge her? A spark of determination ignited within her. I can do that, she asserted, her voice stronger now. Show me then, Jake said, motioning to her sketches. You have until the end of this week to present your best work. A fire ignited in her belly. I will. Just give me a chance, she vowed, catching the sparkle of excitement in his eyes. Good, he smiled, a hint of approval dancing across his lips. But remember, doubt is a luxury you cannot afford in this game. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Emma speechless, her mind spun like a whirlwind. This was her chance and it was real. She had to push through any lingering self-doubt. As she returned home, the weight of expectations loomed large. There was no turning back now. She could feel a shift happening within her. Was she transforming, finally believing in her vision? Every line of her sketches started to pulse with newfound purpose, filling the spaces with hope, but as excitement filled her, a question nagged at the back of her mind. Could she manage to balance her dreams with the pressure that was coming? The race towards the showcase had begun, but would the thrill catapult her to success or crush her under relentless expectations? Only time would tell. Emma sat at her desk, surrounded by colored pencils and sketches that practically vibrated with energy. Her heart raced as she flipped through her ideas. Each page turned was like a dare. Could she really take this leap? Jake's words echoed in her mind, building a rhythm of determination. Confidence was her new mantra. The deadline hung over her like a shadow, grounding the excitement into something tangible. She needed to summon all the courage she could muster. The showcase was a week away, and every moment counted. With each stroke of her pencil, doubt tugged at the edges, whispering that she wasn't good enough, that she was just an amateur playing dress-up in the world of professionals. But today was not about those shadows. Today was about lighting a fire. Daylight faded into evening as she worked tirelessly. The clattering of the keyboards and low hum of voices from her family downstairs faded away, swallowed up by concentration. Emma poured her heart into each detail, the textures, the colors, the emotions. She wanted her art to tell a story, to touch hearts just as Jake had touched hers. She could almost see her name in lights. The dream tugged at her, teasing and just out of reach. As night deepened, exhaustion began to set in. Emma rubbed her eyes, blinking away fatigue. Thoughts of failure and self-doubt crept back, darker than before. She pushed them aside. Taking a deep breath, she stepped back to gaze at what she had created. The sketches didn't just reflect her talent, they spoke of resilience, a journey, yet one sketch remained untouched. It was her most vulnerable concept, a self-portrait. She had wanted to capture her essence, her struggles, the parts of herself that she'd worked so hard to mask. It had been sitting in the corner of her mind like a faded ghost, but today felt different. Today she felt brave. Today was the day to bring it to life. With careful strokes, she began. This piece would be raw and real. She poured in every doubt and insecurity, every triumph and fear. As the image emerged, tears tingled at the edge of her eyelids. This was her story. By exposing her truth, she was reclaiming her narrative. In the quiet hours of the night, her sketches transformed, blooming with hope and courage. She found herself lost in the act of creation, the hours slipping away unnoticed. With each detail, she let go of something heavy, something that had kept her shackled. But the moment of creation was interrupted by a buzzing phone on her desk. It was a text from Brad, a simple, innocuous message that asked about her progress. A wave of panic swept over her. His skepticism had always felt like enough to sink her dreams. She thought of the laughter, the sneers. Would he ever see the worth in her art, or would he remain the shadow lingering in her light? She hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen. Did she respond honestly, confessing the fear and insecurity that ran through her? Or did she brush it off with a smile emoji, pretending everything was fine? Pushing down the fear, she took a deep breath one last time and began typing. As the message sent, she was left wondering how she would confront her fears on display at the showcase and what Brad's true reaction would reveal about their friendship. Would it strengthen her resolve or break her even more? The uncertainty hung heavily as the clock ticked toward midnight, each beat echoing in her heart. Emma woke the following morning beneath a blanket of uncertainty. The rising sun poured warm light into her room, but she felt a chill creeping in. A quick glance at her phone confirmed that Brad hadn't replied. That lack of response only heightened her anxiety. Was he thinking of what to say? Or was he simply uninterested? Her sketches lay scattered over her desk, colorful yet daunting. Each piece was a reflection of her potential, but doubts swirled like storm clouds over her mind. What if Brad saw her art and laughed? What if her dreams were as fragile as the paper she drew on? Glaring at her untouched self-portrait, Emma felt a familiar tension starting to knot in her stomach. Today was going to be different, she could feel it. She had to embrace the challenge. She took a deep breath and decided to put on her favorite music, a playlist of songs that always seemed to lift her spirits. The rhythmic beat filled her space, wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. As she stood in front of the mirror, she practiced her smile. She repeated affirmations like she was trying to convince a doubtful audience. You can do this, Emma. You belong in that showcase. But the mirror reflected more than just her face, it captured a growing determination. After breakfast, Emma returned to her desk, her heart still racing from both excitement and fear. Today, she needed to create something that would resonate, something that would speak volumes, even before it was seen. She picked up a pencil and began to write on the empty space of the self-portrait. Words flowed from her heart. This is me, she scribbled. Imperfect and yet enough. I am more than a number and more than what they think. The letters danced with her emotions, each stroke heavy with truth. For the first time, she felt a shift, a connection building between her and her canvas. Maybe this piece wasn't just for the showcase. Maybe it was a declaration of her worth, a manifesto of who she was determined to become. A loud crash from downstairs jolted her from her thoughts. She rushed to the window, spotting her younger brother, Max, on the ground, wiping dirt off his knees after falling off his bike. A surge of protectiveness washed over her. She dashed down the stairs and burst outside, moving faster than she had ever thought possible. Max. Are you okay? He looked up, his face streaked with mud and laughter, a perfect mix of boyhood mischief. I'm fine. Just practicing for the Olympics. Watching him, a wave of warmth swept through her, reminding her that courage doesn't always look the same. Sometimes it means getting back up after a fall, after all. She smiled, letting the joy wash over her. Maybe she could embody that spirit, strategic resilience combined with vulnerability. As they shared a laugh, Emma felt lighter. If she could find power in her brother's small victories, perhaps she could find strength in her own journey. Sitting back at her desk, hands poised on the edges of her sketch, she felt reinvigorated. The showcase had become more than just a fear, it was her chance to show up for herself, to recognize her own ambitions. Suddenly, her phone chimed. It was a new message from Brad. As she clicked it open, she held her breath, uncertain of what the screen would reveal. Would it spark motivation, or was it more doubt? The moment she read the first line, everything felt like it hinged on his response. What would it say? Emma's heart raced as she focused on the screen. Brad's message was short but loaded, a simple invitation. Hey, do you want to grab coffee later? A wave of relief washed over her, dispelling some of the tension that had gripped her since yesterday. But with that relief came uncertainty. Did he really want to connect, or was this just a casual offer? She didn't waste another second. Typing a quick reply, she agreed to meet him, her fingers trembling slightly with anticipation. After sending the message, she plastered on a smile for her reflection once more. Today felt different. Today was the day she'd take a leap into the unknown. Max burst into the room, still slightly muddy but glowing with excitement. Emma. Can you help me with my drawing for school? I want it to be the best. His enthusiasm was infectious, and Emma's heart swelled with pride. Of course. Let us make it epic, she replied, her doubts fading away like shadows in sunlight. As they worked side by side, her brother sketching a superhero, his inspiration drawn from watching Emma create, she couldn't help but feel that maybe there was more to this day than just the coffee. Maybe it was also an opportunity to share her art, to show a piece of herself that she often kept hidden. After finishing with Max, she looked at the clock. Time was slipping away. She rushed to get ready, pushing down the nerves that threatened to bubble up once more. Emma quickly changed into her favorite outfit, a blue pastel dress she loved for its comfort and vibrancy. It felt like putting on courage. She grabbed a notebook full of her sketches, deciding it could be the icebreaker she needed. when she arrived at the coffee shop, the familiar scent of roasted beans filled the air. She spotted Brad sitting at a small table in the corner, his eyes glued to his phone. Taking a deep breath, she approached, reminding herself of all the times she had practiced her smile. "Hey," she said cheerfully, tucking her hair behind her ear as she slid into the seat across from him. "Hey, Emma," he replied, looking up. There was warmth in his smile. Was it just her imagination, or did it seem genuine? They chatted about the usual small talk, the weather, school projects, favorite music, but every minute felt laced with a certain weight. Emma's heart pounded when she gathered the courage to pull out her sketchbook. "I've been working on some new stuff," she said, her voice wavering slightly as she slid it across the table. Brad glanced at her sketches and then back at her, curiosity lighting his eyes. "Wow, Emma, these are amazing. I had no idea you had such talent." Her cheeks heated with pride and a hint of disbelief. This wasn't just a casual compliment. He looked genuinely impressed. It felt like a dent in the wall she had built around herself. As they turned pages, discussing her art, she felt the walls of uncertainty crumbling a bit. Suddenly, Brad's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. As he picked it up to read the message, his expression shifted. A hint of tension clouded his features. Emma's heart sank slightly. She could see the weight of whatever it was pressing on him. "What is it?" she asked, trying to mask her concern with curiosity. Brad hesitated, looking between her and the phone. "It's just work stuff. Nothing to worry about." But the change in him was palpable. She could feel the shift, like clouds rolling in on a sunny day. As they settled back into conversation, the earlier joy felt tethered by an unspoken tension. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that a deeper issue was lurking beneath the surface. She searched his face for clues but found only a guarded expression. "Are you sure?" she pressed, wanting to break through the barrier he wasn't ready to unveil. Before he could answer, another message came in, vibrating across the table, demanding his attention. This time, he held his breath. What was it about that phone that held his focus so tightly? Emma felt a tug of worry as she wondered about the weight he carried. But just as she thought to ask again, a loud crash resonated from the street outside, momentarily startling both of them. It broke the tension and pulled them abruptly back into the present. "What was that?" Emma asked, glancing outside. "Let us go check," Brad suggested, standing up as the air thickened with anticipation. Emma felt her heart race again, both from the mystery of what had happened and the unresolved tension brewing between them. As they stepped outside, a revelation loomed just beyond the door. The moment of truth was about to arrive. But what would it unveil for both of them? Would they confront their unspoken fears or shy away from what could change everything? The chaos outside had drawn a small crowd. Faces turned toward the street, tension and curiosity mingling in the air. Emma followed Brad's gaze, her heart thumping in her chest. She wondered what was it that could shake both of them from their moment so suddenly. Pushing through the door, they stepped into an unfolding scene. A delivery truck had overturned, splintering crates across the asphalt. A few people were helping the driver, who appeared shaken but otherwise unharmed. Emma felt a surge of relief, yet an undercurrent of anxiety twitched deep within her. Brad's hand was suddenly on her shoulder, grounding her in that moment. "Let us give them some space," he said, his voice low and calm. The weight of concern lingered in his tone, begging for a reality check amidst the chaos. Emma took a small step back, trying to regain her focus. She wanted to bring the conversation back to them, back to the questions left unsaid. "So, do you usually get caught up in something like this?" she joked lightly, attempting to divert the growing tension. But as she glanced at him, she could see that Brad was still distracted by the messages on his phone, the screen lighting his face in a harsh glow. That he shook his head slowly, an uncharacteristic frown creasing his brow. "Not really. Just gotta handle some things." His words trailed off, the statement heavy with an inflection that made her heart swell and twist. "Things?" she asked, more boldly this time. "What kind of things?" Her curiosity was deeper this time, spurred by her instincts that there was more beneath the surface. She wanted to peel back the layers he kept wrapped around himself. But he didn't meet her gaze. Instead, he focused on the chaos unfolding. I can't really, why not? Emma interrupted, challenging him softly. If we both want to know who we are, why not start now? Silence hung between them. He had let her in, even if just a little, through asking about her art. Would he allow her further? Just then, someone from the crowd cried out, "Is everyone okay?" A small child pointed excitedly at the driver. That innocent curiosity reminded Emma of Max, and her thoughts shifted back to safety. Brad finally looked at her, his eyes softening. It's just work stuff, you wouldn't understand. Frustration bubbled within her. How could he dismiss her like that? I might surprise you. He opened his mouth to respond, but another message buzzed, and he swiped it quickly. I really need to. He started again, but Emma's resolve hardened. Brad, would you just please tell me? Her voice tightened with emotion. I know there's more to you than just someone tied to work. You've got to let me in just a little. Emma, his tone was cautious, the uncertainty clear. A moment passed, and she felt the hum of the world fade away, like they were in a bubble, surrounded by the bustle of the crowd but isolated in their own space, echoing with the tension of unspoken confessions. Before he could respond, another crash jolted the moment. A box from the truck fell open, revealing a swarm of colorful toys spilling over. The scene shifted instantly. Kids laughed and rushed forward, chasing after the glazed rainbows that lay scattered across the street. Emma couldn't help but smile as she watched them. Even in chaos, joy found its way through, connecting lives in unexpected ways. But she turned back to Brad, wanting to reclaim the moment. Yet something in his eyes had hardened once more, snapping the moment like a fragile thread. I've got to go, he muttered, a hint of urgency leaking into his voice. Her heart plummeted, disappointment and confusion battling wildly within her. Go? Now? After that? Yeah, sorry. Work really needs me. Before she could urge him to stay, he was already walking away. The distance felt vast, each step like a small piece of her hope crumbling to dust. Emma stood frozen amid the fading laughter around her, the party of children, the original chaos around the mere remnants of a reality she couldn't breach, and with that realization came the inevitable question: why was he so closed off? What was this work that had him so trapped? As she turned back towards the remains of the truck, the distance between them was now a chasm filled with unsaid words and possibilities. Would she chase after him or pull away? In that moment, she understood she would have to make a choice. Emma took a breath, her heart pounding with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. There was something critical about to ignite, something big was coming, and she could feel it in her bones. As she hesitated on whether to follow him or turn back, the flicker of her own courage called to her. Afraid, yet determined, she took a step forward, ready to reclaim the thread that had just teased by shimmering hope. Would she dare to bridge the space between them? Would Brad allow her in, revealing his world before it was too late? As Emma stood at the crossroads of uncertainty and courage, she could almost hear the rhythm of life around her, children laughing, the distant chatter of coffee drinkers, the shards of hope and potential swirling in the air. But the sound of Brad's footsteps faded as he melted into the crowd. That busy street felt both exhilarating and suffocating, the weight of unfinished conversations pressing against her heart. She had to decide: would she chase him down, risking the vulnerability she had fought so hard to overcome, or allow fear to hold her back? With each heartbeat echoing through her, a flicker of resolve sparked within. She thought of her designs, the sketches filled with her dreams that demanded her to be bold. Hey, wait! Emma called out, the words escaping her lips before she could second-guess herself. She felt the world around her still, the people shifting their attention. Brad paused, turning back with a mix of surprise and apprehension. Emma, he began, his voice edged with worry. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she stepped closer, but keeping the distance just enough to not intimidate. I know you're dealing with something, work, whatever it is. But, can we talk? You don't have to carry it alone. Her voice was steady, filled with the strength she had drawn from her sketchbook, the community surrounding her, and the belief in herself that felt, for the first time, almost palpable. Brad shifted, a flicker of vulnerability flashing in his eyes. You don't understand, it's complicated. Complicated is my middle name, Emma shot back, a hint of laughter creeping into her voice. If I can dig deep and show up as an artist, can't you give me the same chance? A moment passed, a challenge hovered in the air, thick with their shared doubt and potential. Okay, he finally said, glancing around as if ensuring no one else was listening. Let us talk, but not here. With that, he led the way to a quieter spot further down the street, away from curious gazes and clattering conversations. Emma's heart raced. It reminded her of the thrill that danced within her whenever she sketched a new idea. As they found refuge beneath a shady tree, she faced him, letting her confidence bloom. What is going on with you? She asked gently, her voice low, inviting him into the space she had created for them. Bracing himself, Brad ran a hand through his hair, revealing the tension that lay beneath his cool facade. I guess I feel like I'm stuck on one path while everyone else is moving forward. My parents expect me to follow the family business, but it's not what I want. I'm afraid of disappointing them, of letting everyone down. Emma felt the connection deepen, their heartbeats syncing like a melody woven from shared fears. You're not just someone else's expectation. You're you, and you deserve to follow your passions. Just like the way I'm trying to find my voice, you can find yours too. Finding my voice seems harder, he admitted, his eyes reflecting vulnerability. Maybe that's because it starts with accepting your truth. I've been learning to embrace mine, even if it means stepping into the storms. Sounds easy when you put it that way, he laughed softly. Yet the sincerity was layered in their laughter, there was hope, present and bolder than before. No one ever said it was easy. But it's worth it, Emma replied fervently. Life isn't just about fitting into molds, it's about breaking them. That's what I want to show at the showcase, and I think you should show up for whatever it is you dream to do, too. You can start today. Brad looked directly into her eyes, and in that shared moment, she felt their barriers beginning to dissolve. How do you do that? I let go of the fear, I remind myself that there will always be storms, she began softly, but it's in those storms where I find my strength, my voice. She reached out, her fingers grazing the pages of her sketchbook beside her. Let us take the leap. Together. The air buzzed with electric possibilities as they shared a moment of understanding. Something unspoken but undeniably powerful held them together, uniting their different paths. You're right, Emma, Brad said, his words laced with genuine warmth. I can't hold on to past expectations. I want to explore what makes me me. I want to stand out like you. Emma's heart swelled with a radiant warmth. Then step into that light. The world needs it. With newfound resolve hovering like a palpable energy between them, they turned to the sidewalk ahead, ready to navigate their next steps. Emma glanced at Brad, excitement bubbling within her chest. Are you ready for the showcase? She asked, a playful grin lighting up her face. Only if you promise to knock everyone's socks off with your designs, he teased back, the camaraderie fostering a spirit of flourishing friendship. They lingered for just a moment longer, neither wanted this feeling to fade away. They both understood they had each other's backs, two young souls ready to embrace the storms ahead, determined to stand strong against the currents. As they walked toward their destinies, Emma felt the weight of judgment slipping away, leaving only the sweet promise of friendship and opportunity. Together, they were already redefining who they were meant to be. This was the beginning of something beautiful. Now, listen up. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire your journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your actions matter. Comment your feelings about this ending and let us lift each other up. The moment is now. Act on it.